It's another week of This Week in Google Glass. XE 21.3 came out. London's going to be wearing them. Canada's going to be wearing glass. We've got iOS now using glass a little bit better. And then, of course, somebody went and actually figured this whole glass and driving texting thing, and that's kind of sad. But we're going to talk about that, everything, and a whole lot more. That's this week on This Week in Google Glass. Hey everybody, Jeffrey Powers here from Geekazine. Think Magazine put in a geek, and you've got Geekazine, and of course here on thisweekingoogleglass.com or twig.tv, TWIGG.tv. 2Gs makes you happy, if you're happy. And you're happy and you know it. Let's talk to Luke. Hey Luke, how you doing?
I'm happy.
Are you happy?
So, there you go. So
I like the you know what the funny thing is, we're on Google Hangouts and they just have this new applause feature, but I don't see it anywhere. So if I find it, then I'll applaud you.
Okay. Yeah. So my name's Luke Wallace. You can find me at Luke Luca on Twitter, or Luke Wallace on Google Plus. Pretty easy to find. But yeah, doing good this week, Jeff.
That's good. That's good, and it's nice to know. Did anything happen? We had last week off because the news was rather slim, so we figured not just sitting here going for about 2 hours probably wasn't going to be a good idea. So, did anything happen? Get any good pictures on your Google Glass?
No, it's just kind of another work week. I have planned a vacation coming up here towards the end of October, so hopefully I'll get some pictures there. Yeah, I'll have to talk to you about it maybe after the show a little bit, how we'll plan around that.
Okay.
But yeah, making some plans for some trips. So Google Glass will definitely be making the trip with me.
Any place that you can say or no?
Well, I guess I could say the plan is to go to Tampa, Florida. So see some friends there. So see a little bit of Florida as well.
Cool. Well, at the end of the month, I'm actually going to be in New York City. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be running in the New York Marathon.
Really?
No. But I will be there. Me and Jennifer will be there. Actually, a couple friends of ours are running in the race, and then my cousin's also running in the New York Marathon. So we decided to make the drive. And we're going to go there and we're going to check it out and hopefully, cross our fingers, get some Jimmy Fallon tickets.
Oh,
and if not, we'll get some Jon Stewart tickets or something like that. And if not, then we'll see Broadway. And if not, then we'll just see Cats and Alleys. I think that's a Broadway play, right? Cats and Alleys?
No, I don't think that's right.
Oh, okay. But it's in the alley of 23rd and 50th Street.
Okay.
And there's cats in there. Anyway, so anyway, yeah, we'll be in New York at the end of the month. So yeah, we'll probably all work out on our vacations and stuff like that. So, speaking of which, show note really quick. I will be in Las Vegas next week. I'm just wasting all my money. That's the international term for wasting all my money. And no, actually, I'll be there for a convention, and so we're not going to have a show next week. If by chance I get some cool thing with Google Glass, then we'll do that. So, but we do have some special announcements. We're going to be talking about the special announcements at the end of the show. But I wanted to show you this because I got this today, and this is brand spanking new. How new is this? Not too many people have it. It just got released today, and it's on Verizon network right now. And of course, some of the other carriers are going to get it later. But this is the new Moto X, bamboo style Moto X, and I just got it this morning. I'm really, it's pretty interesting, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's got a slow-mo feature on it. It's got 4K resolution video on this thing, and look at this, no bend gate here. I can't bend it. You want to try, Luke? No.
I don't think I can try it from here.
Okay, so.
But yeah.
But anyway, it's got some great features. I tested the Moto X, and I saw some very noticeable features so far. Like the speakers are in the front now. so you can watch and hear it. It's got the hand gesture options, so the phone turns itself on when it senses something come around. We can do it again. Look, it's magic.
Nice.
It's magic. Turn off. Let's do the magic again. Magic.
Wow. That's
So
pretty
anyway,
nice.
it's got a lot of great features on it, and so I'll be doing a full review on this. But and of course the bamboo. You know, one thing, and we talked about this before the show. I don't know. I've never owned a bamboo case or anything like that, but I would figure that bamboo would start to get really icky after a while. And I don't know if this is a detachable item that you could put on, take off and then get another
Yeah.
bamboo piece or something like that. But I think after 2 years, this thing's not going to be too nice.
Yeah, you probably would want to buy a replacement before you tried to sell it.
Exactly.
So.
Well, I can't sell it because this is a Verizon loaner. So
Well,
if I
sure,
sell
sure.
it,
But I mean, like,
I'll
if
get
you
in trouble.
if you actually had one, like if it was your phone, you could probably sell it a lot easier by just replacing that, so it'd look
Yeah.
real nice.
Put a nice Hello Kitty sticker on top of it. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
Bling it out. Yeah, perfect. So anyway, what's going on? How's your Moto 360 watch going?
It's going really well. So I've gotten some updates for it recently. Let me wake it up there. So
Wake up.
it's pretty nice. The battery life has gotten a lot better after the recent updates.
Okay.
So let's see. I took it off the charger 7 o'clock this morning, and so now it's 8 o'clock p.m. and it's at 56% battery. So
Not too bad.
not even halfway down after a full day of use. And I get a lot of email at work, and so if this thing buzzes all day long, basically. Plus all the other notifications that I get on personal email, and just hundreds of notifications throughout the day, plus checking it for the time and doing stuff. So yeah, the battery life, as far as I'm concerned, there's no issues with it. And there's another guy I work with. He has one, and he gets even better battery life than I do. I think he gets less email or something during the day, and so like he'll finish up the day with 75%. At the very end of the day. So, so I think it's really nice.
That's cool. It's interesting too because now we're starting to get into, we've been most people are on a two device world. They'll have their laptop or desktop, and then they'll have their smartphone. Now we're getting into the three device world. So the average person will have three technology devices on them, and it's going to change. The three or more actually. So you'll have your smartphone, you'll have your tablet, you'll have your watch, you'll have your glass, and you'll be walking around, and all of them are going to die at the same time, and you got to figure out how to charge them and stuff like that. It's just going to be crazy, but challenge accepted from both of us.
Mm-hmm.
But all right. So anyway, we'll do a now in English.
Well said.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I practiced that for hours. In front of a mirror. In front of a mirror. I was like,
a lot of people would love that.
So, and by the way, nobody bought the choker, so it's been discontinued. So if you try and purchase the choker, the Google Glass choker, it's not going to go anywhere. So sorry. But anyway, let's get into the segment. Big news, little arms. That was a different roar this time. Good job.
Yeah.
You're mixing things up. I like that. It's a little rock and a little roll, a little country, a little western. It's all good.
Hipping and the hopping.
Hipping and the hopping, the hippity hop hop hop. So let's get into the. Oh, there we go. Let's get into the news for this week. We're going to start over at Glass App Source. Apparently, over the weekend, XE Update 21.3 came rolling out of the box here. Not much to the 21.3. The biggest thing was how My Glass for iOS update, which we'll talk about in a second here, so you could do the photo sharing a little bit better. Besides that, there's not much to 21.3 and some bug fixes and stuff like that, unless you've heard of something more than that, Luke. You're saying no, so that's pretty much it. Is little bug fixes. My understanding is some there's going to be some updates rolled out, not only on the glass side, but also on the iOS side, because iOS 8 is came out, and then of course the whole 801 debacle. 802 came out, and then they're going to have like 5 fixes in this next month for your iPhone or iPad. So interesting to see how that'll affect your glassware look. And of course, I don't have an iPhone. I use Android phones. I do have an iPad, which my glass. I'll have to check to see if I can use iPad, my glass iPad app. But if you have an iPhone and you want to keep us updated on that, just let us know. Jeff at twig.tv or Luke at twig.tv.
Okay, next up, we've got a short film that is really kind of an advertisement for a new glass app. So a concept that we've talked about before is translating the language that you hear from someone who's not speaking your language into your language. And so this short film was created by the group behind the Captions app, and they released a short film called Captions that shows what life might be like, sometime in the future when you have the Captions app on your glass or multiple people have it. It's just a few minutes long, and it's a really interesting look into what auto translation of conversations could do and how it could really help people. I won't give too many spoilers on it, but it's really just a glass user's experience, and what what it might be like once this technology is more prevalent and people are more comfortable using it.
That, and it'll bring a tear to your eye.
It's definitely got some emotion in it. This is not the standard, kind of like this is really meant to be a film. This isn't a funny YouTube video that someone put together. This is meant to be a little dramatic and really show you the potential of something like this.
Exactly. So, all right, we'll have the link on that straight up to the Vimeo video there. You can check that out there. All right, moving on. We're going over to psfk.com. I think that's how you pronounce it. psfk.com. Would that be psfk.com, right? I'm trying to get this right. Help me out here, Luke. Is it
I would guess that it's PSFK. I'm not sure what that stands for, but
it stands for psk.com, like psk. I don't know. Anyway, so over at psk.com, Google Glass is going to be entering in of course they want to get in the Fashion Week. It's very important to get Google Glass into into the fashion, into building dresses and building outfits around your Google Glass, and as we're seeing on Etsy, as we're seeing on independent boards, people that are taking sunglasses, and making shades for them, making them look even cooler from that. So this is actually a good fit for Google to show how a pair of Google Glass can fit into today's fashion without looking all geeky and nerdy and anything like that. Because with the frames, I do have to admit, with your frames, Luke, they don't look as geeky as mine do. And I was assured by that, or I was downtown on Saturday, and for the first time, I saw another person with Google Glass here in Madison, Wisconsin.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, that's cool. And then she was using her smartphone to take pictures. So I don't know, but it is what it is. But the whole thing is, when she had the frames and stuff like that. And at first it was like, if it wasn't for the fact she was wearing the cotton pair of glass, I probably wouldn't have noticed it. But it kind of stood out, and I just kind of, oh yeah, she's wearing Google Glass. This is cool. So this is where it's coming in with the fashion and stuff like that. We'll see what happens here. We'll see if how Google Glass is going to affect the dresses and outfits that come from London Fashion Week. So that's all I can really say about that.
And then something we alluded to a little bit earlier, there was an update put out for the MyGlass app for iOS, which does something that's been added to the Android version of MyGlass for a month or two, not a real long time, fairly recent update, but it's now been added in iOS, and that is when you take photos with glass, they automatically get synced to your iOS device. So if you pull up MyGlass, you'll be able to select that picture that you took with glass just a moment before, and then you can share it to any of your social networks of choice. So you don't have to have the social networks on glass anymore, or they don't have to be there.
Exactly.
So you can add filters and do whatever you want to them, but it just makes it a little bit easier for sharing pictures. Really, really great update. I use that feature a lot on Android, so I'm guessing it will get a lot of use from iOS users.
And once again, if you have an iPhone or an iPad, like I said, I'll check it out by reinstalling MyGlass on my iPad to see if it happens. I'll talk to a couple friends of mine that have the iPhone, the iPhone 6, and we should probably do a comparison of MyGlass on the iPhone 6 as opposed to the iPhone 6 Plus. I don't know if there's going to be a big difference or anything like that because it's just using an app as opposed to anything else. But we should see if there's any differences between the two. So, all right, well, that's it for this segment. Big news, little arms. Yeah, that's our dinosaur. We should name our dinosaur. What should we name our dinosaur?
I don't know. Tiny?
Tiny the dinosaur?
Yeah.
I don't know either. If you have an idea of what we should name our dinosaur, just let us know. Jeff at twig.tv, Luke at twig.tv, and go from Luke on Twitter, Geekazine on Twitter. You know how to get a hold of us. So, all right, let's get into the main subject.
Polly. We call him Polly because he's got such a small number of polygons.
Yeah, he's a hexapoly.
Yeah.
Polyhex. Anyway, we'll figure it out. So,
yeah.
All right, let's get into the main subject today. Apparently, we had to prove that Google Glassing and driving is not great and anything like that. And of course, a lot of people have been really questioning driving and distractions on there. And the real question is Google Glass no different than looking in your rear view mirror or any of the gadgets you might have in your car, such as on-screen navigation, such as on my rear view mirror, it has the direction that I'm going on. And does that distract me while I'm driving, or does the radio distract me while I'm driving? Does Jennifer distract me while I'm driving? Do the 100 puppies in the back of the car distract me while I'm driving? Anything like that. That's what they want to do. But of course, we're researching with Google Glass. The Consumers Union, the National Safety Council, are really concerned about the best way that we can drive, and especially nowadays with all these new self-driving, some not fully autonomous, but somewhat helpful. We'll apply the brake for you if we think that there's something in the way. It really starts to ask the question: how are we distracted? Why are we distracted? And does Google Glass fit into that as a high-level distraction or a low-level distraction? So, Luke, you read most of this article, so why don't you tell us a little bit about what you saw from there?
Okay, so first off, we'll just kind of summarize the article, and basically, there was a study done, and it was conducted at the University of Central Florida in partnership with the Air Force Research Laboratory. And they said they had 40 users come in, and they compared driving and texting using traditional texting methods versus driving and texting using glass. And they used a simulator. They didn't actually put people behind real cars. They did this in a safe environment so that no one would get hurt, and tried to see were there statistical differences by, between how safe each group was. And what they found was that both groups drove dangerously and were distracted and were not able to perform their task without, potentially hitting the car in front of them or braking at very unsafe speeds or almost hitting the car in front of them. They didn't go into all the details of exactly how many people hit the cars and how they, how many times they tried it and all that stuff. But basically they said they found no distinct difference between those groups.
Okay. And it's interesting. I've been in those simulators. In fact, I was a few years ago. I was at Ford, and we got to play in the simulator. And one thing that they test is where they put the buttons, where they put the dials. So if you do need to turn up the air, or you do need to turn on a hazard light or something like that, then you're easily accessible to it, and you're not looking down at the dashboard as opposed to looking at the road, which is the primary goal there. So, we all know that anything that's in front of us, whether it be glass, whether it be, like I said, on-screen navigation, or even your mirror system, is a distraction to the main focus, and that's the road ahead of you. So it's not surprising that Google Glass has been found to be a distraction to certain types of driving. But it's just really a question of how long of a distraction is it? Is it a millisecond, or is it a 5 second, as opposed to, like a phone, you pull out your phone and you've got on, right now my phone's locked up, I got to unlock it. And then I have to do the texting, and we don't have, like I said, we don't have a tactile feel on our phones anymore. So we don't know how to call up the messages and phone numbers and stuff like that without looking at the phone. And that's got to be more of a distraction than what glass has. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Once you've learned how to use glass a little bit and you remember what the commands are, there are so many things that you can do that don't require that interaction. Like you said, there's no tactile keys on a phone, so you pretty much always have to look down at the phone. I don't know of anybody who can text on their phone by touch. They have to be looking at the screen. So with glass, you do not have to be looking at the screen because you're talking to it, and it does, voice dictation. So I would argue that it's got to be somewhat safer. Now, maybe there's some statistical thing about it. My question for it, and it's actually raised by one of the commenters on the story, someone who left a little response to it, was, did the users that were doing the glass texting and testing, were they glass users before? Were they familiar with glass? Because you're taking people that have texted on their phone all day long, and they've been texting for years probably, and then you give a bunch of those same people glass, and you say, okay, now text with glass. They're probably not going to, they're going to be distracted just because it's a new technology. They're not used to the interaction. They're not used to trusting it. They're going to be watching it a lot more as the text is, being translated or, being dictated. And so I would wonder, was it really a fair comparison, or were the people that were also texting, had they never texted before? I would guess that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
So that would be my thing, is, was it a true study? Because if you're taking people that have hundreds of hours of experience texting, and they were only distracted, whatever, some amount where it was just somewhat dangerous, they weren't getting into lots of accidents, but they were, obviously distracted, versus a group that has never glassed before and they were just as dangerous as that, you're like, well, but if you were glass texting a lot more, all of a sudden that would go way down and it would be a lot safer. So
Exactly.
that's my only kind of comment.
And it also, the study, and then of course the study needs to be done. I was
Sure,
joking on the beginning, but the reality is, whatever happens, whatever comes out from this text and drive, or glass and drive, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be not only a rule that could shape certain states' bans. Like, for instance, there's 44 states that already have a text and driving ban on them. So you could see, there's a possibility you could see out of those 44 states, maybe 10 of those states having a Google Glass ban, or maybe all 44, or maybe we get it to all 50 states where you can't do anything and drive, and go from there. But on the other aspect, it gets to more because with Google Glass, this is something that they know that in the residential world, it's a great novelty. In the business world, it's a necessity. And we talk about instead of having these little RF guns for the forklift drivers and stuff like that, they're wearing Google Glass, and they can go, okay, I need to go to row B, segment 32 to pull this pallet from the shelf and bring it up to the front and go from there. Well, if there's going to be a ban, and they basically say, excuse me, and they basically say that texting and driving is very, very dangerous, then the warehouse workers are going to sit there and go, well, maybe we shouldn't be glassing and driving in our warehouses as well. Or maybe the Air Force is going to look at that and go, maybe they'll probably do their own study anyway, and then go, more pilots that wear Google Glass while flying the plane, or in the Army case, riding a tank or whatever vehicle, that we found more distraction. And of course, in those cases, if you're in a battle situation, any distraction can be a very even more dangerous than texting and driving, or glassing and driving, or whatever. So it'd be interesting to see how they extrapolate all that information and use Google Glass in the end.
Yeah, and I would wonder, or I would think something like this, they would also need to test talking and driving. I don't think anyone has tested that in a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I see people all the time when I'm driving around, and they've got the phone, up at their ear. So now that's using a hand as well. It's not just, it's not even hands free. They're using a hand, so they're not signaling right anymore, because, well, I'm using my signaling hand to hold my phone, so I can't signal. And they're driving, and I see them driving. I'm like, yeah, you're on your phone, like you're just talking on your phone. And you can't maintain that, but that's not, or I mean, that is starting to be banned in some places. I think California bans talking on the phone while driving.
You can have a headset or something like that, or an earbud in or something like that, and go from there.
Yeah.
But you just reminded me. I saw this weekend. I was driving. I looked to the left of me, and there's this guy smoking a cigarette, notepad and a pen, and he's driving. He's writing on the notepad and putting enough pressure on his hand on the steering wheel to actually kind of keep the car a little bit steady as he continues to write, and smoking his cigarette. So it's just like, dude, where's the beer? Maybe should I open you one up and throw it your way so you have that full spectrum going or something like that? But it was just crazy. And I used to do that myself. How many times... and of course, if you're a millennial driver, I suppose that's a term, right? If you drove before the year, let's say 2005, you had a map in your glove compartment. And if you drove before 2005, you pulled that map out while you were driving. You opened that map, you opened the map up, folded it up to the square where you needed to see the location that you're going to, and go from there. That was probably even more dangerous than any texting and driving, any glass and driving, anything than that. It's just it's amazing. We look at this stuff and it's like, this is actually a lot safer than what we used to do back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. It doesn't take a lot of high tech equipment to get distracted or do things like you said, where you're driving with one little pressure point on your palm, like that's your whole driving thing, or you're using your knee, like you're holding the wheel straight with your knee. It's like, it doesn't take lots of technology. Like banning cell phones and banning that kind of stuff, it's like, people will find something else to be distracted by. Then
Yeah.
they'll just be like, well, now I can do is eat in the car while I'm going to work. Okay, well, and then they'll have their 3-course meal out,
Yeah.
dipping their stuff and
Yeah, yeah.
doing everything. And it's like, it's not any better. It's
There was a guy, and this was during my Amway days, and he was talking about how he would drive from client to client, and he'd be in a 3-piece suit, and he'd be eating his Kentucky Fried Chicken with mashed potatoes in one hand and chicken in the other hand, and driving with his elbows and knees and stuff like that. And it's just like, seriously, you did that? Good for you. So, but we never had a chicken in driving. We never had a Whopper and drive. And I drove up north. I went about an hour north of here because we had a gig with the band, and we stopped in and grabbed ourselves some A&W root beers and got a couple burgers. And I had, usually I get like the little cheeseburgers when I drive, but I had a nice big burger, and I drove with that, and that's pretty much a distraction, especially when lettuce starts to fall from there. So.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know if we've come to any sort of conclusion on this, but I think we're saying, yes, glass can be distracting, or I think glass can be distracting. I personally don't think that it is as distracting as trying to text with your hands on your phone for a lot of things. But that's also my experience as a more seasoned glass user. So I would say that over time it will end up being safer. So that's my opinion, and so I would challenge this research and say there's probably still room for saying we need to find experienced glass users that have a lot of experience before, and do the test with that and see if the results are any different. Because it may be that they are. Yeah. That they are. It may be that they're not. But I feel like if they don't, it's not really giving enough credence to it. They could say, oh, well, watches are now distracted driving. Yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, because they're new, and, you throw one on somebody who's never used it before, and you'd see the same issues where they'd be like, whoa, this is kind of neat. I'm going to play with this while I'm driving. And, and that'll happen. Or you put somebody in a brand new car with lots of new fancy dials and, lots of new little features, and they'll probably get distracted by the car itself. And so...
well, there was the one car that has the ability to... Actually, the seat would vibrate in certain situations, like if there's a car in your blind spot or something like that.
Oh yeah, vibrate. Yeah. A lot of them are getting like the blind spot.
Yeah, and that's got to be distracting. You're going, whoa, what the heck just happened here?
Yeah,
and,
you have to kind of get used to it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and of course, until we get to the days where we get the Luke Skywalker going like that, and I think that's what we need for Google Glass. Google, you need that little thing where it goes. And then somebody going, use the Force, Luke, and go. I think that would be perfect, right?
Yeah, I'd use it. I would.
Well, your glasses would be off, and
I know it's like,
would be a different type of distraction.
It'd have to be separate, but yeah, I mean, a little targeting computer, it makes sense, right? Why would you just use your feelings to try to hit this thing? You need really advanced targeting equipment. I mean, obviously.
not everybody can hit womp rats at 20 parsecs or whatever that was. I just
T16.
I just pissed off a whole bunch of Star Wars fans. So
all those Star Trek guys are going to be really upset. You better watch out.
the Star Trek what?
Yeah, exactly.
They're probably going, oh, you're talking Star Wars again. You start talking Star Trek. Will Wheaton. Sorry, Will Wheaton, your show got canceled, by the way.
Yeah.
I heard about that. Sad. It was good. It was pretty good. The Skeletor skit, that was really nice.
Never saw any of it. Sorry.
Oh, well, it happened. But Will Wheaton, too bad. You can always come on this show and talk with us if you want.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We'll see
Open
what
call.
All right. Let's move on. We got some business to talk about, and I'm going to go on a small little rant here, and I do apologize. So a few weeks ago, we got those articles, Google Glass is dead, Google Glass is coming back, Google Glass is dead. We got the same problem with podcasting. We just got an article a couple days ago. Oh, podcasting is back and better than ever. Well, if you looked at the statistics, podcasting had a steady growth ever since its inception in 2004. So I think you need to look at your numbers again and go. Same thing with Google Glass. Google Glass is not dead. It's still here. However, After it's kind of like the honeymoon's over, and Google Glass is one piece of many versions of wearable technology, and it's time to start thinking about other types of wearable technology. This week in Google Glass, we didn't do a show last week because of the fact that there wasn't that much news, and it kind of made me sad because, and I know it makes Luke sad every single time. I mean, you should see his face right now. It's just he's super sad. It's just really sad. He's gonna cry. He's gonna cry and cry and cry. Nope, there's a little smile. No, there's a little smile. Nope, he's gonna cry now. Now he's gonna cry again. And oh, there's a little smile. Coochie coochie coo.
Anyway,
Anyway, so the whole point is, you don't like those segments? That's what they do on
moving
Tonight Show.
on.
Come on.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
the whole point is, it's time to start thinking about where this week in Google Glass is going to really go, and do we need to kind of expand the territory, so to speak? Like for instance, I try not to talk too much about other type of glass knockoffs or whatever you want to call it. The only exception being the one we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where the guy actually put everything up in open source and showed you how to take a Raspberry Pi and a hat and turn it into a somewhat of a glass knockoff. But I think it's time that we start expanding the realm and talking more about the phones, talking more about the Moto 360s, talking more about what wearable technology is going to be coming today. And with that, we might even just make a play and change the show altogether, the format of the show altogether. This is where you're going to come in. I know there's people that are watching. I know there's people that are listening. We got some pretty good numbers. However, well, it's not as much on the audio, and that's another thing I was thinking about doing. Is first question that we're gonna pose to you guys: should we nix the audio version of This Week in Google Glass? Because it's just an extra step, and if we don't get that many people on the audio end, it's not worth doing the audio end. Yeah, I'd rather focus it on YouTube and focus it on blip.tv and of course thisweekingoogle.glass.com or whatever we end up the domain name to be. First of all, do you want to have that audio version? You got to show me that you're listening to the audio version. And second of all, if we do change the format, what would you like to see for a domain? We've been looking at some options here in wearable technology. We stuck around wearable technology, but we don't know what the name in 2 years what they're going to call it. Are they going to call it wearable technology? Are they going to call it sensor technology? Are they going to call it too geeky for school technology? I don't know. And it's our jobs to kind of figure that out and forecast that for the next 2 years. And that's where I got to see where we're going to go. Is in 2 years, where's the show going to be? And so that's why I'm making the major change. With that, we're also going to try and find another person, one or two more people, to come onto the show and bring some more variety to it and have a little bit more fun to that. So that's pretty much where we're going with right now. There's no time frame. We could do it next week. Well, we can't do it next week. I'll be in Vegas spending money. But we could do it in a couple weeks. We could do it in a couple months. It really depends on what presents itself in the next 2-3 months here. Because tomorrow Google could come up with a news conference and say Google Glass is out and it's $10 with a 2-year contract or some silly thing like that. And then next thing you know, we're just knee deep in people asking questions about Google Glass. And so, but we just got to look at the future and where Google Glass is headed. We don't think it's going away by any means possible. It might morph into something different, but it'll still be Google Glass. But we just got to look at what else is going out there in the technology world, and not be so myopic to one thing. So, anything you want to add to that, Luke?
I'm wondering how people should provide this feedback. Are you going to set up a poll or a voting mechanism, or should people just email, or how do you want people to contact us on this?
I think email. I think Twitter. You can tweet Luke Luca. You can tweet Geekazine. You can Jeff at twig.tv with 2 G's. Luke at twig.tv with 2 G's. That doesn't change at all. And let them know, or if you see me on Facebook, if you see me on Google Plus, the funny thing about you and me, Luke, is we have so many ways that people can contact us,
It's
and
true.
it's crazy.
It's true.
So if you can do smoke signals and get it to us, I'll need to find somebody to translate a smoke signal, but I'll try and decipher it. So
Yeah, yeah, me too. Carrier pigeon, you know.
you have carrier pigeons?
No,
Oh,
I've thought about it, but not at this time.
so. And then, of course, we're going to have a great sponsor in biglettershirts.com, because that's also wearable.
It is a wearable. I don't know if I'd call it wearable technology or something like that, but it technically is something you can wear.
Now,
So.
let me think about this. You got to put a letter on the shirt. You need technology to put that letter on the shirt.
There is.
Therefore, that's wearable technology.
I don't know. I think you're stretching. I think you're stretching just a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I always stretch my shirts. They feel a little bit tight, so you just got to...
Yeah, yeah,
So.
yeah, yeah.
But anyway, we need your input on this, because this is going to be a big change. If we change, I put together this show to be all about Google Glass, and I'd love it to continue with Google Glass, but I'm not calling anybody out by saying this, but in all reality, I've asked Google to come on to the show several times, and yet you don't hear anything from Google. And I just got an email this last week from another wearable tech company that is planning to put something out, and they want to be on the show. And it's like, but you don't do anything with Google Glass. And it's like, well, if you were wearable tech, that would be awesome. So I want to give time to people that can help us and explain things. And Google's such this closed organization at times. They're open at other times. I mean, I've met so many people from Google. It's crazy. But try and get them to do anything public, and it's almost like ripping their teeth out.
Yeah. And we are seeing a convergence. The whole idea that the Android Wear, OS basically, or that API that they've got for watches right now will be coming to Google Glass. That means that the wearable stuff will be, even in Google's domain, will be merging. So you'll be able to write a wearable app that will function on Glass, as opposed to a Glass app that you have to write specifically for Glass right now. So
Yeah.
we're already seeing that convergence anyway. So Glass would eventually become some sort of wearable, would just become more of a generic wearable device long term anyway. So I don't think that this is a bad direction to kind of get in front of a little bit. I mean, it's possible that Glass in its current state, and we talked about this a little bit, that it's very likely Glass like you see on us is not going to be what is, the first real big hit for a heads-up display like this. It's going to be a second version of Google Glass, like a real second version that looks totally different, that they'll really refined, and we've seen patents about it, and all the shows that we've talked about. So this is just trying to get, I think, one step ahead of that, so that we're not feeling like, oh, well, now glass is dead, and now it's Android Wear, and they've just made Android Wear for your face, and now it's like, well, okay, now I guess the show has to end, and we have to switch then. And so I think this is really just about getting ahead of it.
Yeah, and perfect. Android Wear, Google Glass. In 2 years, I don't think it's going to be called either. I think it's going to be called. I don't know. I really don't know just yet. It's just like when Apple comes out with a new version of Mac OS, they'll call it Yosemite. They'll call it Petaluma. They'll call it San Francisco. Whatever. Google Glass. Once it comes out, it might not be called Google Glass. It might, because they did some sort of market research, and the people didn't like the words Google Glass. It was too techy, so they called it, I don't know, Dachshund or something like that.
Yeah,
who
knows?
And I don't want to be running the show this week in Dachshund. It just doesn't work. So
Yeah.
that's where we're going on this, and Luke's totally agrees on this, and you do totally agree on this, right, Luke?
Yeah. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with expanding and definitely including a little bit more, and because glass does interface with a whole lot of other devices, and we're just going to see that continue. It's not just an Android thing anymore, right? It's on iOS, so you can't, you don't want to limit yourself to one thing, because who knows what it's going to be next month or next year. So I think this is a good thing to just figure out what direction and be a little bit more inclusive and make it just a little bit broader reach.
There you go.
But we don't want to lose out on all the people that are watching, because I think we, like you said, we'll still be focusing on glass. We'll still be including a lot of glass stuff. This doesn't mean that we won't mention glass news because, glass is old, we're not going to talk about it anymore. Yeah. So this is more about saying we're going to still do a lot of glass stuff. Anytime there's anything major, new XE versions, new features, new whatever, I think we'll always be talking about that, because it'll be a great wearable news. This is still the #1 face computer, if that's a good thing. The heads-up display kind of stuff. Like, they've released a lot of other ones. A lot of people have copied them, but this is still the biggest one. So, if something else comes along and it's the biggest one and it's the one everyone's excited about, that would probably be the one that we would start talking about more. So I think that, like, the goal is not to hitch ourselves to exactly one technology, but staying at the forefront of what's coming in wearable, what's brand new, like that's more the goal in my mind.
Exactly. And of course, we don't want to leave you out in the cold. We don't want you to go, yeah, well, I like Google Glass, I didn't like all those other wearables, so I want this show to stay that way. If that's your opinion, let us know. I mean, we can't change anything. Well, with change, you always go through your what's the word? You rotate through people, and the least amount of people we want to rotate. We want to bring more people in and be part of it. So you're also deciding factor on where we're going to go with this show in the next couple weeks, in the next couple months. Should we talk more about Google Glass? Should we talk less about Google Glass? Should we start talking about imprinted microchips in our wrists or anything like that? Mm-hmm. That help us put this show together for you, so you don't hear us ramble for about 20 minutes about changing the show.
Yeah, we, like you said, we're easy to contact. We've got the Q&A section always going during the live show. Send us, if you see some article and you're like, oh man, they got to talk about this. Everyone needs to know about this. It's so important. Yeah. Send it over to us. Like that, we would love to have more interaction, and we can give you credit on the show. Say who sent it in and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
And if you got an idea for a name or anything like that where you think wearable technology is going to go, let us know. If you've got a domain that's just kind of, you got sitting parked and you're not going to sell anytime soon, give me a call and let's see if we can work out a deal and I can and maybe that'll become the name of the show. I've already purchased a couple domains, so it's very easy for me to actually make the switch, but we're not totally sold on the names that we did find so far. So if you've got something that's just going to blow us out of the water, let us know and be part of the show if you want to. So, all right, I think we beat that dead horse and brought it back to life and beat it again. So, what do you think?
I think it's an important topic that we need to talk about. So
yeah, and no matter what we do, big news, little arms is going to stay.
With Polly, the dinosaur.
It's Polly, the dinosaur. Big news, little arms with Polly, the dinosaur.
Rah! Yeah, we're having too much fun with this. I think.
No, that's the idea, is to have fun with it.
This is gonna be, yeah. Okay, so. But yeah, we definitely need feedback from people. We want to know, like, what do you care about? If you've got a strong opinion and you don't share it with us, there's nothing we can do about it. So we'll have to make the decisions on our own. So don't let that happen. Make sure to send us some thoughts.
only you can prevent forest fires. That's all we're saying. So anyway, that does it for this week's This Week in Google Glass, or whatever we're going to call it from here on. And like I said, program note, next week I will be in Las Vegas. Viva Las! Waste my money. Anyway, and I'll be there for convention. So we got a week off, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of This Week in Google Glass. Please subscribe over at twig.tv. Please go over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/This Week in Glass. Please go over and be part of that. All the subscribe stuff is here on the left side. You can take the survey that pops on the right side and go from there. But be a part of that, and we appreciate it very much, because I know there's a lot of you people that throw me some Google Plus love on the side and say, I watch your show all the time. When's your show going to come out? There's one guy that keeps he actually texted me like 7 times. Where was it? Did you do a show last week? Did you do a show last week? It's like, no, we didn't do a show. Why not? Why not? So I know there's people out there watching. So please be part of that. Thanks a lot for watching. Luke, where do people go to find you?
Yeah, so if you're looking to give feedback or send us some news, or offer to be on the show, or have an idea for the show,
or give us donuts.
Yeah, or send us some donuts. That'd be great. I love donuts. So you can find me on Twitter at Luke Luca. That's LukeLuca, all one word. Or you can find me on Google Plus, google.com/plus Luke Wallace, or on your favorite, your other favorite social network. But yeah, easy to find. Also the email address, luke@twig.tv, TWIGG.tv. Real easy. Yeah.
Are you on LO yet?
I am not on LO. Is that do you have to speak with a British accent the whole time? Hello.
Hello. I'm on the L. It's like the dirty British accent, like the Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins type accent. So,
hello, Mary.
Hello, Mary. So anyway, my name is Jeffrey Post. Y'all can get on me on Geekazine. You think the magazine you put in a bloody geek. You got a Geekazine right there. Anyway, that Geekazine, that's my Twitter handle. That's where you can find me. Jeff at twig.tv, or This Week in Google Glass. Just go over there and find the contact page and say hello, and go from there. So, all right. Well, Luke, thank you very much for this, for coming out and helping me out this week. And we'll see you in a couple weeks. If I'm not broke.
Absolutely.
If I'm not broke, that is. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening. And we'll see you next time. Until then, you guys geek out, and we'll see you next time on This Week in Google Glass with little arms. Where's the roar?
Roar.
Here we go.